Welcome back to Alyssa's Movie Takes. If you are new to the channel, I welcome you here. I do movie reviews and think pieces from a Christian perspective. Today, I'm going to be looking at the new hit movie, Sound of Freedom. When it premiered on July 4th, Sound of Freedom won the day and now has gone on in its first week to make $40 million, which means Angel Studios, the creator of The Chosen, has another crowdfunded hit on its hand. So let's take a look at this movie first, and then we'll talk a little bit about what this means for Angel Studios and the crowdfunding method. So the movie stars Jim Caviezel of the Passion of the Christ fame. Also, he was known for A Person of Interest as real life person Tim Ballard, who was a federal agent involved in a sting to rescue children out of child trafficking. The movie kicks off with the introduction of these two kids, Rocio and her brother Miguel, young elementary age kids who are tricked into thinking they're going to be part of this star search for kids, and instead they're trafficked. Now they do have a dad; they're not orphaned, but their dad comes to pick them up at the end of the day, and boom, they vanished. So the story follows Tim Ballard, who mostly is a federal agent who goes after pedophiles, who tries to track down the sister. He finds the boy early on, and then he's trying to track down the sister in the heart of, a corrupt area in Colombia. Jim Caviezel does a decent job of showing us his classic character, which is tortured soul turned, action figure, which was Person of Interest, or tortured soul turned savior in Passion of the Christ. Like that's his shtick. That's what he knows how to do. I wish they would have done it even a little bit more, because I would have liked to see some of the things that he was wrestling with as he's going on his quest for this little girl, so that when we had moments of victory, we felt that cathartic release about his emotional state as well. He plays it pretty evenly for most of the time, and I wish he had upped it a little bit. The two little kids who star in this are great. We see them, the torture and the joy just through their faces. And the movie does a great job in showing us this is a torturous, horrible, vile thing that's happening without showing us too much detail. So one scene I appreciated was the little girl. It's like she's just been kidnapped and we know what's going to happen, right? She's trafficked for sex. And you see the John come in the room and he's drunk, and you're just like, how much are they going to show here? But the moment they end is him just looking out at the world and closing the curtains, right? So they do a lot that tells you what's happening without showing you the details that we don't want to see and don't want to have our imaginations. In that mindset, I would say if you are a mom who has had nightmares about your kids getting kidnapped, or have that phobia, or you're someone who does have like recurring dreams about being kidnapped, or this is a big fear for you, I would shy away from it. Not necessarily because of what they show with the kids, the stars of this movie, but because they show real life footage toward the very beginning of the movie, what I think is real life footage of how the trafficking happens, right? It's a kid playing on the street and they just get picked up by a motorcycle, or it's like they're with their friends and all of a sudden they're gone. And that could be too much for people who struggle with this type of fear. That said, I think the quest arch works for the most part. However, there are moments that, because they say that this is a crime lord driven network, right? Like, sort of think like The Godfather. So now these black market crime lords are running children, right? They're running children for sex because they can make a lot more money selling children multiple times than drugs or gambling. However, the crime lords in this movie are stupid. They just walk right into traps. And therefore, the tension and the release in the biggest movie, in the biggest moments, are not that like exciting. Just like, oh, okay, you walked into it. There you go. You walked into it again. Okay, there you go. Like, there's no real danger. Like Taken, which was a classic movie about trafficking, or the dad trying to go get his daughter. There's a lot of tension there because the crime lords aren't stupid, but they are here. So I wish they would have made them a little bit smarter, or like showed more from their perspective, so that as it comes to those climax moments, we're going, this is so scary, and that tension builds. One of the people that helps Tim in his quest is a man named Vampiro in the movie, played by Bill Camp. This was a fascinating character that I wish they spent a little more time on. He was fascinating because Tim Tim's quest makes sense because he's someone who is compelled in his vocation and just in who he is to go after those who go after children, right? He goes after pedophiles. Bill Camp's character Vampiro was a cartel leader turned child rescuer. And that conversion that they talk about, I would have loved to see, because that's the kind of story and heart change that would compel people to really get involved. If this crime lord sees how bad it is, what can I do as well? So I wish they'd shown the scene where he realized how horrible he'd been, and his shame and his reckoning, because that's a compelling character to have in this story. One other thing that I wished that they had changed was some of the score. A lot of the score matched the scenes that they were in and building tension or showing release. There's one time where the kids in The Sound of Freedom, right? The name of the movie, The Sound of Freedom, is very natural. It's hand games, it's singing that's childlike, but the song that they use more toward the end, without spoiling anything, is a children's choir. Now, I don't mind children's choirs, but in this setting, it seemed to force an emotion rather than letting it naturally happen, which they did with the song from before, which was just more natural, happy clapping kids, versus very well produced, very on point, very orderly, when this is sort of a chaotic thing that's happening. So I wish they would have stuck with the natural sounds versus the produced sounds of children, because that's a better emotional cathartic release. Cinematography, no qualms about the cinematography. I thought they did a good job, as I said, of showing things and then hinting at things and still making it palatable to watch this movie about child trafficking and still helping you feel some of the joy that's connected to it. So there's a couple reasons why I think this has done really well at the box office. It's The Passion. The Passion made $83 million in its opening and went on to make more than $380 million domestically when it came out in 2004, and nothing since then has been able to touch it. But this is the biggest crowd-funded movie release that we've seen. The Chosen has released a few episodes in theaters, but they haven't released a full movie in theaters. So this movie has made 40 million in its opening weekend. They will probably extend its theatrical run. It was just going to be a special release for this one weekend. So if they extend it, I'm sure that they will hit around the same, if not a little more, than Jesus Revolution, which landed in the 50s domestically. Angel Studios has found a niche to market to the faith-filled, right? And to help you support the movie by crowdfunding it, right? So you're investing in the movies that you want to see. They've done this for David, which will be coming out. They've done this for The Shift, which is another one that they saw the trailer for, which will be coming out. They started it with The Chosen and they saw real success there. And I said, Christians and faithful people are willing to pay for the content that they want to see. There's another reason that this is successful. So a lot of people invested in this, and you could tell that at the end of the credits, where there's just a list for 5 minutes of all the people who invested this. But they found a cause, right? Child trafficking is something that many Christians care about, many non-Christians care about too. So because it's not really a heavy-handed faithful movie, I think they tipped into the secular audience as well, to have not just Christians go see this movie, but non-Christians as well who care about this issue, and Christians do. So it was one of those movies that you want the marketing to do, which is get your church group to go see it. If church groups go see it, you get numbers like 40 million, 50 million in your opening weekend. If it's more just like, oh yeah, did you see that Christian movie that came out? You'll probably see like 5 or 10 million. But once you get that boiling point of a lot of Christians going to see it at one time, that's when you see an opening weekend of 40 million, which is great for them. I hope they continue to make movies this way. So that's my take on Sound of Freedom. Did you get to go see it this weekend? Did you see it with your church group or community group? Are you involved in any anti-trafficking organizations, or has this inspired you to become involved? Let me know in the comments below. I appreciate it if you would like this video, share it, subscribe to Alyssa's Movie Takes, and I will talk to you soon.